Hey, everybody. Welcome to our market spotlight here with Savvy STR agents. I'm joined today with our excellent agent from upstate South Carolina all the way over to Charlotte, North Carolina, Mike Pocisk. So, Mike, if you don't mind, tell us just a little bit about yourself, what brings you to Savvy and to real estate and your market there in South Carolina.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here. I understand this is our first live uh,
That's it.
podcast, so this is
First face to
exciting.
face. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is awesome. So yeah, a little background on myself. I've been a realtor now for 9 years. I started that in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I focused on both the Carolina market, being right there on the border. And I decided after a couple of years, I started getting interested in short-term rentals. I had a couple myself up in Boone, up in Asheville, and I thought, okay, well, this is kind of a neat niche, doing pretty well. Let's see if I can help people find some of these, just like I
Nice.
have. So, got into that background, did that there a little bit, moved to Greenville 7 years ago with my wife's job, but I kept doing this. I kept doing the short-term rental thing. Came across Tyler's path a couple times in transactions, so I reached out to Tyler and said, "Hey, what's going on there?" And I think he was starting to build what he was doing here at Savvy, which is great. So it was a good fit. I started in that real estate background, looking on STRs in the mountains of North Carolina, and it's kind of the same footprint Tyler was. And did that for a year. Was with Savvy, and I decided, okay, well, let's see if there's other markets. Especially, I live in Greenville, right? So
Yeah.
a little bit closer to that market. And I thought, okay, well, let's see what Greenville has to offer. Start doing some real estate. I had to do some education myself. I
Mhm.
grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, so I know that market. So I started just dabbling a little bit, trying to understand it. There's some different regulations, and it's different. It's not a vacation market. Um, and decided to kind of start in those markets about a year and a half ago as well. So I still cover Western North Carolina, those urban markets in South Carolina, and I just love what I do. So
Very
that's
good.
brought me to where we are.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Let's see. So, yep, I wanted to make a quick note for all of our viewers today. Um, if you have any questions during mine and Mike's conversation, if you would drop them in the chat, we're going to do our best to answer them as we go along. And we'll probably have more time at the end of the presentation also to take and answer questions at that point. So, yeah, if you don't mind, just say hello, jump in the chat, let us know where you're watching from. That'd be amazing. We appreciate that. Yeah, I guess for to start things off with Mike, we're just kind of curious as to what his markets look like from Columbia, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. So yeah, we're very excited to dive into this, Mike, and yeah, I'm going to kind of let you lead from here because I know you're ready to let us know all about it there. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
exciting time to be in this space. So this is a little bit different. I know at Savvy we have some urban markets. So all the markets you're mentioning, except for maybe Charlotte, are still pretty mid-sized cities. But what we're looking for, and the kind of key term we're hearing in the industry now, is this emerging market. I don't want a saturation. I want something new and fresh, and
right,
I want to get in the ground floor. Where we don't see the saturation, we don't see even a lot of the things that are driving getting to the top. So getting to the top of your competition is still the most important thing here. So I'm never going to take away from that. But to get there in these urban markets is a little bit cheaper because they just haven't been established. We don't have as many suppliers out there with the Airbnbs. And to be honest with you, I'm going to show you some stats in a little while. Um, it doesn't take as much to get to that top, right? It doesn't
that's
take
awesome.
$200,000 in some like Orlando or Florida markets, probably where they have pickleball courts and everybody has the hot tub and everybody has, all these great amenities.
Right,
It's
that can be overwhelming for some people.
it can be, especially if
Yeah,
this is your first time. I mean, you want to make sure if you got a limited budget, you don't want to always be competing from the very beginning to try to get to that top, which is again ultimate importance there. You're also looking in the urban market for growth. So every market, every city is really an urban market, right? At the end of the day,
yeah,
but what you should look at in those cities is the population growing? It's more people moving there, right?
right,
So if more people are moving there from other areas like Midwest or Florida or wherever that is, that's going to parallel perfectly with revenue growth. But think about it.
Wow.
So you got people moving there, new jobs. They want to
Mhm.
go in and check out those jobs, make sure that the city they like, they want to move in the right place. So they're going to get an Airbnb, maybe with their family for a couple weekends before they pull the trigger where they're going to move to.
Exactly.
So Airbnb potential. You like international business growth, right? And I think
Mhm.
this is important because this, if you have a lot of international people that are coming in and helping in Greenville, for example, Michelin, BMW,
Mhm.
those are international companies.
Right.
They're not coming in for 2 days to do their
Exactly.
thing. They're coming in to launch things probably for 3 months.
Right.
That may be another good avenue for that, short-term rentals, what other markets don't have. So looking for those things, looking for that population growth is very important. But really what I wanna focus on today, Jeremy, is really supply and demand. And I'm gonna
Okay.
kinda look at this a little bit differently than maybe we have in the past. And
Sounds good.
I think it's really important when you see some examples in these markets. So if you don't mind, I want to start with a little bit of scenario, maybe ask you a
Perfect.
question, and
Yeah,
we're gonna do a little bit of a play here.
that sounds good.
Um, so back to Econ 101, right?
Yeah.
Back in school. So I want to present that a situation where you are a hotel employee, right? And your
Mhm.
superiors come to you and say, "Hey, we want to open up. Maybe it's Hilton. We want to open up a Hilton,
Mhm.
either on the west side of Asheville or the east side of Asheville. We already have several downtown,
Right.
but we think we've done our studies and we see there's a demand for both areas, but we can only afford to do one right now." So
Gotcha.
they're taking this to you and saying, "Okay, Jeremy, do some research. You come back to us and tell us where we should be." What's the first thing you think you're going to probably do in that situation?
Let's see. So there's already enough hotels in central Asheville, and you're going to the east or the west side. I guess would be how much competition is there in each, how much competition east side versus west side?
Other hotels, right? I mean, who
Yeah.
are you competing with?
Right.
You're exactly right. So if you find on the west side of Asheville, there's 4 similar brands,
Mhm.
and on the east side there's 1, and they're similar brands,
Mhm.
and you already heard that demand is the same for both. Which one are you going to come back to your superiors with a
Yeah, I'm gonna
recommendation?
go for that market that's just holding on to the one at the moment. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You're gonna make money. There's less supply there, so obviously the better supply versus demand, you increase your prices and generate revenue.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take this a step further, right?
Okay.
So let's talk about short term rentals.
Mhm.
Um, Similar situation. I am your customer. You're my agent, and I come to you, Jeremy, and said, "Hey, I got $600,000 to spend. What I've heard. Tell me if I'm wrong, but everybody wants to be close to downtown, right? That's probably the
Mhm.
biggest driver. Biltmore, River District, all those things are down
Right.
here. That's a big driver. So I want to be within 10 miles of that.
Right.
But I also, want to be near a mountain town, right? So if
Okay.
my guests want to be kind of near something, I've heard things about Black Mountain. Good thing
Mhm.
east of here, Waynesville.
Right.
Good thing west of here. And, my studies have shown that they both draw people from this area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're both great independent towns. You go shopping, go dining, all those things.
Yeah.
Um, so you're gonna go do your homework and say, okay, let me see if I can find you something that fits your buy box, right? And you come back and you do some research and you say, okay, well, east of town is near Black Mountain, it's still 10 minutes from downtown. It fits your buy box.
Mhm.
And I also found one west of town, closer to Waynesville, fits your buy box, or 10 miles apart. So there really is no difference of getting downtown for your guests here.
Okay.
And what then would you say would be your thing to try to sell me on one or two or both of those?
I would look to see how much competition, basically kind of boils back down to that. Look to see how many comps there are to compare in each area.
In the comps performance, right?
Yeah, exactly how they're performing. Also size, relevant to what size that you would be looking to purchase.
Yep.
If you're looking for something small, look within that same, property avatar or larger properties, of course. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's what I do as an
yeah,
agent too, and I think we do as as a company at
mhm,
Savvy is we find comps to help bring a comfort level to. However, if we look at this differently, because we
mhm,
looked at this differently in the first scenario,
yeah,
you're pushing the one with comps that making $90,000 a year, 15% return on investment.
right,
That's
right,
good.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with that. You're going to pitch that one to me on the Black Mountain side because you're showing me comps, and I feel good
mhm,
about that. but you're not going to show me potentially the one over on the western side because you can't find any comps for me, right? So,
Right.
I can't get a comfort level and prove that I can make 90,000, 100,000.
Gotcha.
But when you reverse what we just did,
Yeah.
right, and we say, why would you pitch me something that's just going to dilute the market over here?
Right. When you could.
We know Waynesville and Black Mountain provide the same thing, but we just diluted the people that wanted to go to Black Mountain because there's 3 already over there.
Exactly.
Great, I have
Yeah.
a comfort level for that. But I think we ought to be looking over in the Waynesville. There's no competition. I don't have
Exactly.
to compete against them. I don't have to see what they're doing on Airbnb and make sure I can beat it to get in that top 20%.
That's a very valid
It,
point.
it flips it on its head.
Definitely.
So the reason I kind of set the stage for this is I think this is very important in these urban markets we're going to talk about, because there are pockets where there is no demand. There is no comps where I can give you 5 properties to prove that it's going to make 100 grand. But if I can show you the demand is there, people are coming, there's no hotels in these areas, you're going to feel pretty good about that. So that's the way we got to think in these urban emerging markets that I find interesting. But thank you for playing along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, let's kind of jump into these areas.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like we've got your slide pulled up here. Why urban emerging markets? So supply and demand advantages, I guess.
Yeah, so we just let's
off.
talk about, let's go right on into Greenville. I think we hit on all the supply and demand. It was kind of what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
The lower price to compete, and again, this is the less to get to the top, less amenities, and then the fast growth. This is the international business and all those things that I mentioned. So thank you for bringing up this slide. So this is how I look at supply and demand from a macroeconomic high level.
Mhm.
I say, okay, in these cities, urban market, how many people are coming? And these stats are pretty easy to pull with AI. How many people are coming a year? And then I say, well, how many Airbnbs are there?
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right? I mean, people coming per people coming, how many Airbnbs are available?
Yeah.
If it's a higher number, that represents a better thing, right? So there's more there's more opportunities. There's less opportunity. There's less supply in those markets for the people that are coming. That's good for an investor.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily good for a renter,
Right.
but a good for an investor. So I looked at Greenville. I'm gonna kind of
Sure. Yeah.
can't see that well over there, but so Greenville's got 2 million people coming a year. It's a pretty good market, mid-sized market. I compared that. Okay, Columbia, which surprises me actually, is double that, 13 million. Charlotte, not that surprising, 33 million. Asheville is more Columbia size. Raleigh's same Columbia size. Charleston's more Greenville size. So I took a couple other cities and said, well, based on this high-level macro view, can we kind of conclude, at least at a high level, there's some supply and demand opportunities here?
Yeah.
And Greenville, especially when I compare that to Charleston, almost the same amount of people coming, yet there's 1,000 Airbnbs available, 1,100 versus 5,300. So immediately people think, oh, I want to have a property in Charleston I can rent out. But your numbers just are going to be tougher. You've got more competition. You have to do well. So at a high level, looking at these, I just wanted to set the stage again. Greenville, Columbia, bringing a lot of people, not a whole lot of Airbnbs. Even Charlotte number, the ratio is really good. Asheville, since we're here, it brings in 14 million, but compared to Greenville, it's twice as many people, but a third to almost 4 times number of available short-term rentals. So again, opportunity.
Definitely.
As well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Greenville a little bit. I live in Greenville, so near and dear to my heart. I probably get a little more excited in my voice with Greenville than with other things. But Greenville, if you've never been there, go. I mean, downtown is amazing. You just have so many things. When people ask me, why do people go to Greenville? Well, why would I invest there? Because what are people coming for? It's just it's across the board. A lot of things. They're first of all, the geography. I don't know if you can flip along so we can show folks where Greenville is. If you don't know, it sits almost directly between Charlotte and Atlanta, 2 major hubs, right in between, about an hour and 45 minutes apart. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from Asheville, so you get the mountains.
Right.
So it sits in the upstate of South Carolina. Gets a lot of 4-season good weather across there. It's got the Falls Park downtown. It runs right through downtown Greenville.
Beautiful part, yeah.
Yeah, you seen it?
It's gorgeous.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, somebody had some foresight to plant trees along Main Street, and it's just over the years, it's just getting more and more traffic for that,
Yeah.
just getting downtown. There is a lot of youth sports that come there.
Okay.
It's amazing amount of swimmers, volleyball players, soccer tournaments, everything. And I think that is the case coming from all these areas because south of here it's a little bit too hot in the summer.
Yeah.
North of here it could be a little cold,
Right.
and there's stuff to do. So see a ton of youth sports. So being close to areas where there's youth sports, a ton of wedding venues,
Mhm.
amazing amount of wedding venues. And there's not many people like my family came up. My daughter got married. Yeah, I was excited for that. But when I wanted to have my guests somewhere cool, we ended up in a hotel just because I couldn't fit more than like a 3-bedroom near this wedding venue.
Yeah.
So there's things that you got to think differently about. It's not the typical, oh, we're going to be at Biltmore or we're going to be in the mountains, and those are great natural draws, and they're always going to be there. But
Mhm.
if you look at urban and you find those reasons people are coming, like Greenville has, it sets up a incredible opportunity for
Absolutely.
these investors. Um, so yeah, you see a picture here. You got a replica of Fenway Park on the top right. Falls Park, you kind of saw that. You're close to the mountains. I can get to Hendersonville from Greenville in 30, 35 minutes so that my guests can go to those wineries up
Yeah.
there, the apple picking in the fall, all those things that you could do in the mountains.
Oh, man, love the apple donuts. That
Oh
that
gosh,
oh
yeah, apple
gosh.
donuts and some apple cider. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
that's those are great. Good call. We got 3 state parks, little north of Greenville, Caesar's Head, Table Rock, and Paris Mountain, big
Nice.
drawers. So, see, there's just again a lot of reasons why people come to Greenville. Um, so some of the let's see, won some awards, some accolades. You'll see that. But what I try to do with all my investors is they come to town. I try to give them, and I provide this deck usually if you're one of them. What are the areas within Greenville? We already talked about Greenville as a whole
Okay.
being an opportunity, but let's dig into this urban market and see if there's even better supply and demand opportunities.
Right.
And you start picking these apart, it could be amazing what you find. I found that north of Greenville, toward Travelers Rest, going toward the mountains, is huge. It does really well. A little northeast of Greenville, you got again a lot of wedding venues, and you can just see the traffic there.
Yeah.
Yet when you look at an AirDNA map,
Mhm.
you just don't see a lot of Airbnbs there. Which
Right.
at the end of the day, I, again, it's a simple supply and demand
Yeah,
thing.
it's missed opportunity.
Um, when I first started looking at Greenville about a year ago, I found a very niche thing as well. I don't know if it's on one of these slides, but um, pools,
Yeah.
in-ground pools, right?
Okay.
Cool place. If you're gonna go with your family to have an in-ground pool,
Yeah.
amazing. And I said, okay, well, how many in-ground pools are there in Airbnbs?
Yeah.
There was 12,
Wow.
just 12 in all of Metro Greenville.
Jeez.
So I said, how much are those making? Right?
Uh-huh.
They're all making over $100,000. All of them. Every one of them was making over $100,000. I said immediately. I said, okay. A couple of my investors, I started pitching them. I got a couple
Yeah.
I found for sale, and I think I've sold 4 with pools last year, and they're all doing great.
Nice.
Right. So we found a niche. Probably start. As you start filling that niche, maybe you move on to the next one a little bit. But again, just pockets of opportunity if you do the research or
Absolutely.
use somebody like me that is going to do that extra homework
Yeah.
and say, okay, where is this? Where's this at? Um,
I was gonna say, we do have a question really quick that popped
Yeah.
up, if you don't mind to answer
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Maria is asking, what are STR regulations like in Greenville?
Great question. I probably should have hit that by now, but great question. So downtown Greenville has restrictions. You cannot have a single family home with a short term rental in downtown. Similar as Asheville.
Similar
Same
here.
same rule. So
Exactly.
what you do is you go up to Google Maps and you say, I'm going to search for Greenville, South Carolina, and it'll pull up a city limit for you.
Mhm.
What you find is it's not a nice little round circle. It's you can get close to the city in certain areas. I found
Mhm.
that just north of town, right? A little northwest of town. You can get within a mile and a half
Wow.
sometimes of one of these. In fact, I got an investor we're looking at right now in a 4-bedroom. He is literally the line goes across his neighbors, and he's literally like
Oh,
1.1
wow.
miles from downtown.
Jeez.
So if you think about this again from a supply and demand thing, there's no more short-term rentals that are going to happen in downtown.
Right.
You are now the epicenter along that fence.
Exactly.
And I found a 4-bedroom right there as close as you can be. that's as good as it gets, right?
Exactly, and it's not a bad thing
And it
to
doesn't
go just
cost
as a
a whole lot. This one, for example, is a 5 bedroom.
mhm,
It's right over the fence, and it's a mile, one like 2 miles, right
yep,
by the Swamp Rabbit Trail, and there's hardly any competition. So again, he's like, "Send me comps."
mhm,
I could send you a few, we could piece some things together, but nothing clear and direct of their neighbors that are doing this
gotcha.
and that. But opportunity, yes, very much opportunity. So great question. Some of the other towns, Travelers Rest, you got to have permit, business license. Malden, same thing. So the county of Greenville doesn't require anything. I mean, it's
Right,
really not regulated. So the city of Greenville, yes, you
cities
can't
the main
do it
thing.
there. And some of the closer municipalities have some permitting process. But I think when you look at it compared to other areas,
Mhm.
it's pretty actually a good market from a regulation standpoint. You just got to stay on top of it.
Exactly, exactly. One more question from Maria really quick. She asked, "Is it easy to find support there? Like, for example, cleaners, pool maintenance folks, etcetera?"
That's another great question. That's good ones. If you asked me that a year ago, I'd say, we got
Yeah,
some work to do. But I've sold now 10
right.
in that area. So of those 10, I'm building that network. So
That's awesome.
I have the cleaner network, and I'm in touch with all the 10 of these, right? So
Mhm.
they know we're building this. They're providing their feedback, and so we're getting more of that. I have a muralist now. I have people that'll do some QC work now. I have obviously people that can decorate and provide all those things. So it's an emerging market for my investors, but it's also an emerging market for me. So yeah, it's
Nice.
getting there. It's much further along than it was, but
Nice.
hey, yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, that is
And
good.
that's the great thing about Savvy is that's what we build. That is our home. I mean, I'm the only short term rental that doing these markets, so it's my responsibility to have that network
Yeah.
for those people that are looking there to answer those kind of
Yeah,
questions.
and it sounds like you're building it well. And, Maria said thank you. You're welcome, Maria. All
Welcome,
right.
Maria. Thanks for the question.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks for the
same
great
thing goes
questions.
for Columbia, as well. So
Okay.
very, very
Well,
similar.
great. Well, speaking of, Mike, if you don't mind really quick, I was just gonna kinda ask, about what what brings um, different investors to the different areas. Like, what would you say differentiates Greenville from, say, the Columbia market? I know Columbia is a lot bigger of a city. I know it's the capital, but I was just kinda curious as to what contrast you saw between Greenville and Columbia.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Columbia is the capital, so you have government
Mhm.
there. With government, you have a lot of contractors that come
Oh, yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Columbia also has a great zoo, Riverbank Zoo,
Mhm.
amazing. Um, Probably one of the top 5 zoos in the country, so people will go to that. We have a amazing lake, Lake Murray. It's 500 feet or miles of shoreline. It goes around this thing. Fort Jackson is unique to Columbia.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, that's where they go for basic training, right? So they'll
Right.
go there for a couple weeks, couple months. They come in and come out, and that's in Columbia. So
Yeah.
we're gonna talk a little bit more of that one because I love that concept that
Yeah.
nobody's taking advantage of. But yeah,
Absolutely.
so finding those unique things where I talked about Greenville having Falls Park and a rail to trail system goes like 40 miles and a great downtown. Columbia's got a lot of niches as well. So not one thing, but I can give you 5 to 10, which make a difference overall when you're looking at them. Um,
That's awesome.
yep.
Well, thanks for addressing that. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to throw you off course there.
Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
what you had teed up next.
Yeah, I don't know if we can go a little bit further on the slides. I wanted to give an example to tie back to my supply and demand um, item that I found, and hopefully you'll find this interesting. A little further, a little further. Okay, here we go. Um, top slide. If you look at this, probably small, maybe for a lot of people, but that looking for that slot within an emerging market.
Mhm.
This is north of town. This is kinda where I live. This is where the wedding venues are. This is where the 3, state parks are. You look at this map, and I think I did a search for 4 to 5 bedrooms, right?
Mhm.
You'll see at the bottom of this map, there's some Airbnbs. There's some VRBOs that are closer to Greenville. Greenville's kinda at the bottom of that map, if you're kinda asking. This is the space between Greenville and Hendersonville,
Okay.
Highway 11 right there. There's hardly any short-term rentals that size there, none. I mean, it's just amazing the opportunity that exists for a high traffic area
Mhm.
to have 0.
Wow.
or
Yeah.
1. I mean, it's just and it's there. It's amazing. So, I'd love to have some investors come along and we can fill up this space. And when we start filling up this space, we'll go to a new space.
Right.
But this is an example of the things we talked about in the beginning. That supply and demand is just it's amazing. But as long as people are there and people are coming, which is proven, we saw that in the first slide. 6 million people are coming to Greenville,
Absolutely.
and they're going to get the apples
Yeah.
and the donuts. So love that example. I think below that we talked about s- getting to the top of your market as far as amenities and whatnot.
Mhm.
So on the left, and I can't see the numbers, but I did a search for Travelers Rest, which is about 5 miles north of Greenville, great hot market. I said, how many Airbnbs are 3 to 4 bedroom? And I think the
Looks like
number was 24.
yeah, about 24.
24, right?
Mhm.
That's pretty low amount. I mean, it's only 5 miles from Greenville, so a lot of stuff going on here. But I said, okay, what differentiate mine from the other 24 if I go there? So the first thing I looked at is, well, how many of them have hot tubs?
Right.
How many you think here in the mountains would have of 24 would have a hot tub?
23 and a half.
You know how many there
Right.
were there?
How
There
many?
was one. There
1.
was one.
Ooh, wow.
So
Missed opportunity.
$8,000 hot tub, boom,
Yeah.
you're near the top for anybody that wants a hot tub.
Jeez.
Cost you 8 grand. How
Yeah.
much to get to the top in some of these markets in the mountains? 100 grand, 150 grand, because you're
Right.
competing against not an emerging market, you're competing against an existing market where
Mhm.
people have really established great Airbnbs and they're making a lot of money.
Absolutely.
But if you have the budget, you don't have the budget to do that, to spend a drop of 100 grand on a pickleball court and all those things.
Mhm.
You could spend 8 grand on a hot tub and get to the top.
Yeah.
So it's first time short term rental buyers.
Great market.
Great
Great
market for
market
that.
for that.
So
I did wanna jump in. Also, Lynn had a question, a few minutes ago. She said, "How do you help people wanting to buy an STR?"
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a realtor,
Yeah.
right? So, first and foremost, my job is to represent my investors from a realtor standpoint. So that means, helping them get a good deals, shopping the market, finding diamonds in the rough,
Absolutely.
and then if there's a connection and they want to pursue, I'm going to help them, figure out what they have going on, look at the property disclosures, making sure doing inspections. I'll be at the inspection with them. If
Nice.
they pull the trigger on a contract, we'll go through all the contract rules and regulations as a realtor would. And we get to closing. Usually, a realtor is done at that point. We close, we get their check, and they're done. No, not as savvy. Not when
Right.
I have to build that network of things. I want to keep track of that person
Exactly.
and help them be successful. Because you know why? If they're successful, what
Mhm.
happens?
Then that makes you successful, that makes the team successful.
And they may come back and buy a second.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's
so our job here at Savvy and helping people buy these investments is to not take it from, showing to close. It's to take it a lot further along that path. So
exactly.
take pride in that. But that's at the end of the day how I help. And I have my own, right? So I can speak the language, I can help them. I have that business network that we can help them if they're looking for a muralist or whatever that is. And that's how I help them buy the home. That's also how I help them be successful with that home.
Nice. Okay, we got time for one more quick one from Lynn before we jump into the next section here. She was asking, do you help after the purchase to manage the rental?
So that's one thing we're not as property managers, but we do have property managers that we're
Right.
partnering with, right? So we're
Yeah.
going to set you up with the right ones we've vetted, we feel comfortable with. Those could range in price, but they maybe range in what they offer too. So
Yeah.
maybe some say charge 10%, but they don't do things that others do. Or if you want
Right.
a end-to-end full scale one, we'll get you a property manager that does. So
Sounds good.
I always try to promote them doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Um, I think, well, there's tax ramifications of meeting that, material
Material. Yeah, exactly.
participation that they want to do, at least clear for the first year.
Hmm.
So we can help them set enough people to get that comfort level. And then now, after the end of the year, you know what? They can maybe hand it off to somebody to do. They already have a comfort level with their cleaner and all those things, and they met that criteria to really get that tax deduction. Is going to be significant, and I'll help them bridge that first year gap as much as
Awesome.
I can.
That's good.
I'm a QC person for one of my investors. She's like
Nice.
us.
Nice.
I make sure that all our cleaners, at least, to get a new cleaner, and
Yeah.
they're doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
And
Gotta
it's
stay on.
important to me because I can use that cleaner for other people. So I'm
Exactly.
very engaged. It's very important that they're successful in this urban
Yeah.
emerging market.
Well,
So,
that's great to hear. Well,
yeah.
thank you for your answer on that, Mike. Let's see. Next up, it looks like we've got, I know we kind of touched on it briefly. I jumped ahead, but looks like we got Columbia coming up. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Columbia is in the middle of the state. You can get to the beach quicker, get to the mountains a little further from Greenville, but it's capital of South Carolina, and there's a lot of great things going on there. Again, we talked about the capital aspect of it, like
Hmm.
Murray. Um, and it's the same thing. I think it was a bigger supply and demand variable there as a market
Absolutely.
than even
Yeah.
Greenville. So love finding little pockets there. Love, traveling to it's not a far drive. My daughter lives down there. My parents live down there. So I'll get in the car and go. But
Nice.
I want to make sure that they find, that niche within the emerging market that is successful.
Exactly.
And homes are cheap
Yeah.
in Columbia. They're
Okay.
cheaper in Greenville, way cheaper than Asheville. So one, you're getting a cheaper home. A 4 or 5 bedroom is going to cost you 400 grand, right?
Wow.
It is easy to get to the top. We talked about that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just a cheaper way to do well. It doesn't take as big of a budget in
Yeah.
either of those places. So I love that about Columbia and Greenville, and even Charlotte's not very expensive when you're comparing it to other areas.
Sounds like a good portfolio builder, like a good first step for a lot of folks getting into short term rentals for the first time, or maybe even a second or third property. Just to kind of to to build that momentum, especially with that budget friendly pricing.
Hmm.
It just sounds great. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
impressed with those prices. I mean, that's
yeah, especially if you can get one with a pool.
yeah.
I think one of the best deals I had was in Greenville. It was a 5 bedroom, already had a pool, and yeah, it's doing really well.
Jeez.
Um,
All right. Well, good deal. Well, what do you say? Since we're kind of looking at these markets, they are beyond traditional vacation markets, which I think is fantastic because it allows you to do business in a market that is not oversaturated, strictly for vacation purposes. But when investors are what are they typically trying to accomplish, like, in these markets, would you say? Um, what kinda reigns supreme here over, like, cash flow appreciation, longer rental seasons? Like, what's kinda the main focus in that area that
yeah, I mean, you just pretty much nailed my answer. First of all, climate. It's a four season market, so it's not going to be too cold
Mhm.
to do things with. It's balancing that revenue stream, so you're not at a ski resort and getting a
Right,
spike there. You're not on a lake getting a spike in the summertime.
right.
It's very very diversified as far as the seasons go. Uh, Supply and demand. I mean, hey, coming back to those things, but getting on the bottom floor, not having to deal with a lot of competition
Mhm.
is attractive to people.
Oh, yeah.
Um, it's feeling like you're getting on the bottom floor of a great stock,
Yeah.
right? You got a tip. Um, you could go and you could buy Apple. You can go and you could buy GE. Those are proven stocks.
Mhm.
What if you had an opportunity to buy something that nobody else has really bought yet? That
Exactly.
is got enough. It's got enough examples, and you've done your research with their management group and what they're doing, that you feel like, if get on the bottom floor of this, it's
Yeah.
great. Here's also the deal. If they don't work as a short-term rental, man, both of these urban markets are amazing for midterm.
Right,
I mean, you're
right.
downtown
Exactly.
Columbia.
Exactly.
You're in a
Yeah.
mixed capital. You got like 4 hospitals there. So,
Right.
in fact, I think I have one client that's actually doing a nice little hybrid between short term and midterm, and doing well with it. So,
Very cool.
it's a little bit less going on in the short term market. She moves it to the midterm and gets about the same amount of income.
Nice.
So I think that's less risk, right?
Yeah.
So if short term rental isn't for you, go into a midterm or long term market. You can't do that in vacation markets.
Right. That's very
Um,
true.
so an urban market gives you that advantage over a vacation market. It's one thing that's important, because if you don't do well in a vacation market, you're selling and you're going to sell for a pretty hefty discount, and that's
Right.
really your only option.
Yeah. And that's one thing I do like to tell folks that are a little more concerned or, cautious about STR investing, which, I know all the markets that we work within are basically picked for their performance metrics. So it's like we really don't um, put our flag in the soil, I like to say, in markets that aren't going to do well for our clients. So, I try to voice that to folks, but, that is a very good point. A market like yours, or markets, I should say, like yours, that do have that flexibility to where it's not, it's not um, summertime, beach time, and that's it. You've
Mhm.
got business travelers, you've got medical travelers, you've got that safety net, two different safety nets, midterm and long term. So, there's basically just, no room to fail, kind of, almost.
Especially because you didn't spend 100 grand creating this giant resort and trying to move that to a midterm or
Right,
long-term
right,
rental is
right.
gonna be tougher too. So, yeah, you just got the hot tub to deal with. You can easily transition to that.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying don't do more than a hot tub, but
Yeah,
the beautiful thing is do the hot tub, and if competition starts catching up to you, then add a fire pit,
y
add a couple arcade games,
exactly.
and you can kinda
Yeah,
you're not going from 0 to 100. You just have to go to 0 to 10 to be at the top,
right.
and you can always, reinvest after the
Absolutely.
initial investment for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I do have a question here. Naomi mentioned that she heard that property taxes are much higher if you buy in South Carolina if it's not your home state. Is
Mhm.
that correct in all areas of South Carolina?
That is a South Carolina rule, so yes, that is absolutely correct. It is, probably 3 times as much if you don't live there than if you do.
Okay.
However, if you do live there, the numbers are low.
Mhm.
So that, you know, 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom home that you're getting for $300,000, if you live there, it's only like $1,200. So when I triple that and it gets
Right.
closer to $4,000, that's a big difference there. However, when you compare that to other
Still less than
markets,
a lot of other, yeah.
yeah, from Northeast or whatever, but if you make it's a great point, and it probably contributes to why there's good supply and demand to some extent,
Yeah.
as people aren't moving across town and just turning their home into an Airbnb.
Mhm.
And they say, "Well, I don't wanna pay 4,000. I was used to paying 1,200."
Right.
Well, okay, they're gonna sell it instead. Well, that creates less Airbnbs, right? So if you can make I mean, this is all a math question. If you make more and you can absorb that little bit higher taxes, it's still worth it, but it is part of the overall pro forma, part of the overall equation, but it is a fact, and, it's cheap as heck if you live there, if in South Carolina, but it is more for taxes if you don't.
Gotcha. Okay, but still doesn't sound outrageous by any means, so that's good. Um, all right, and let's see here. Um, okay, like what kind of revenue do people generally see? I know that's still a broad area to cover from, say Columbia to Greenville to Charlotte, but just kind of curious what a good example of
Yeah.
um,
So here's how I pitch it,
yeah.
right? Because I do in Western North Carolina
Mhm.
as well as these markets, and I say, first of all, we'll talk about risk tolerance. I think either of them I can probably get you safely in a 15 to 18% range return on investment. So,
Nice.
I mean,
Yep.
do you agree that's sort of a
Yeah,
fair that's our goal here at Savvy, just
absolutely.
kinda get in that zone.
Yeah.
And the mountain markets are very dependable. We even saw during Hurricane Helene, people still came pretty quickly after. They're always gonna go to the mountains. It provides God's creation of things that you don't get in urban markets. You get
Right.
views, you get creeks, you get your streams, you get hiking trails, all those things. However, I think the ceiling is lower there than it could be in the urban markets I'm talking about.
Okay.
So so you can if you do it right and you find one of these pockets where there's nothing exists, your ceiling goes to 25, 30% there. But if you don't do it well, the
Right.
floor is lower. So
Right.
it's a risk tolerance question, but I think it's a little bit risk um I'm not gonna think of the word, but because of the midterm long term thing, you can
Mhm.
transition there. But
Gotcha.
your ceiling and your floor are higher in an urban market, in my opinion, especially an emerging urban market,
Mhm.
than it is at a vacation market.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
so yeah, it's still the 15 to 18% is the goal. I think that's a safe goal.
Yeah.
And I think people that do that do are happy with their returns. So obviously can very easily absorb a tax bill if you're making, you know, $100,000 off your, $500,000 investment.
Yeah. Right. No, that's great. Let's see what else I was going to ask you here. One of the things is so top performing STRs within these markets, since it is such, such an emerging market. I guess a couple of those are for sure. We wanted to see, what the folks that are doing the best. So the top performers, what kind of makes them perform the best within that? Is it particular bedroom counts, locations, um, amenities, even proximity to like hospitals, downtown events?
Yeah, I think, bigger is better.
Yeah.
More people are coming to these youth soccer tournaments. I mentioned that, right? Or a
Hmm.
wedding venue. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
They're not coming by themselves. It's not really a couple that's usually coming.
Right. Yeah.
It's a bigger group, and it's the underserved group. It's the underserved piece that I mentioned. And shoot, we just saw that 750 square mile swath north of Greenville. It only
Yeah.
has one, right? Um, so those do better. Those do better. I love the idea of being by the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If it's a smaller home, those do well. Swamp Rabbit Trail, maybe first time I mentioned that, this is the rail to trail system. It's like 40 miles long.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, that thing is packed on weekends, right?
Yeah.
So you can get right through downtown Greenville if you're staying along there, get on your bikes with your family. Um, the me that 5-bedroom I mentioned, it's a mile from the Swamp Rabbit Trail, so the vision is we're gonna put bikes in the garage in their family. It's a safe thing, we already mapped it out. It's a safe thing that they can walk right through a subdivision, get to an entry point of it, take
Nice.
their bike and ride downtown, take their bike and ride up to Travelers Rest or the falls.
Yeah.
That's a good little niche-y market that I really like. Columbia, good example, and this is one of my last slides, but I think it's important. I want to make sure I touch on it. Fort Jackson, we
Uh-huh.
talked about that a little bit. There are 100,000 graduates a year that go through Fort Jackson for Army basic training. So
Wow.
think about this. This is an 18-year-old, right?
Hmm.
Generally,
Hmm.
18-year-old. When your kid turns 18, they go to college. Are you going to go down there help them get in college and
Absolutely.
hold their hand a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing
Right.
applies, right? So parents, family, then they're not there long. Then they graduate.
Hmm.
You're going to go to your daughter's college graduation?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's bringing specific traffic to a unique thing that exists there that is totally underserved. I look at one of oh, thank you. You brought up the slide. So look at this slide. Fort Jackson's kind of over to the right side.
Hmm.
Obviously, you don't have any Airbnbs in Fort Jackson, but along that interstate, hopefully you can see that on the thing. But if you as you transition right to left, you get out of Fort Jackson. These are 4 to 5 bedrooms, I believe, and nobody's over there. Nobody's near there. Nobody's even designing toward it. Think about it.
Wow.
American flag. I
Yeah.
mean, patriotism. I mean,
Right.
you're not talking a huge design. You're just talking design
Something
that has
simple.
some
Yeah.
maybe history of
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. Creative design. You can go through every Airbnb on this, none of them are gonna have that.
Wow.
None of 'em.
Wow.
So you got a market that's trying to serve if every 100,000 recruits brought 2 people, right, it's
Mhm.
200,000 people.
Right.
I really don't think and they're coming at bigger groups. Some may stay in hotels, but wouldn't they wanna stay closer? Their only reason to go in, it's not to go to a football game.
Right.
Their only reason to go is to be close to Fort Jackson.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yep.
Couple restaurants may be important to them, nice
Right.
pool, but it's not Lake Murray, it's not downtown. So where these 4 to 5 bedrooms are in Columbia, which is close to those things, nobody's over here serving this
Jeez.
opportunity. So, again, just another example. I know I talked about supply and demand in the beginning, finding these niches in these markets. Columbia has them, Greenville has it, Charlotte has Charlotte's got a lot of them.
Mhm.
When you get outside of town. I love the racetrack, speedway, and amphitheater, kind of northeast of town.
Yeah.
Again, you don't see a lot of Airbnbs over there. It's not the downtown. It's not one of the 4, downtown districts in Charlotte. It's not being close to Bank of America Stadium. because there's a ton of those you're competing against.
Right.
It's finding those niches within a bigger city that's bringing 33 million people in
Right. That's being
that
underserved.
isn't being served.
Yeah.
So, all 3 of these cities are great, ton of opportunity,
Nice.
and, gotta just think outside the box a little bit. You can't say, "I need to find 5 comps to support that," Mike.
Right.
That's the biggest
I mean,
difference maker.
that's a plus you could say on being in the upside of, of that particular pocket is being able to be one of those comps for later folks. You're already pulling in your returns,
Yeah,
while they're looking at comps later. So no,
exactly.
I totally agree with you on that. Um, okay, so yeah, I guess one of the questions I had was, if someone's considering their first STR in one of these markets, what advice would you give them? Kinda sounds like you just did, but if you wanna tack anything onto that, that'd be
Yeah, I mean, know the market, do your research on the market. It's important. I mean, if you've never been to Greenville, if you've never been to Columbia, never been to Charlotte, make sure you do your own research there
mhm,
and have that comfort level, what those drivers are. I mean, with AI, ChatGPT, I mean, do a ChatGPT on Fort Jackson. It'll tell you the same thing my slide just did. In fact, I got some of that from that.
gotcha.
Um, so know your market and find your niche. Be creative. Stop the scroll, and you don't need $100,000 in amenities to do it. That would be my advice. Know the market well and design and market to that niche that you're creating.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Fort Jackson. I bet there's a Facebook group out there for Fort Jackson graduates or
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, why not post your I mean, that sounds simple and stupid, but Jeremy, I'm telling you, if you know your market, you know what you're going after, and you go after it in the right way, and um, you can do really well. You can hit those ceilings that I was talking about, whether it's a $300,000 budget, getting a 2 or 3 bedroom, or it's you're gonna go a little bit higher and go to $600,000 and put a pool in. They both can do it, but just have a plan. One important thing, and somebody mentioned taxes. One another important thing we're going to look at here in an emerging market that's a little bit of a detriment is these don't often come furnished, right? These aren't existing
Right.
short-term rentals. So you got to
Yeah.
have a little bit of a budget to do that. But when you design it and you furnish it, do it in a way that makes sense for what you're trying to compete against.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is wonderful advice. I had another question that come through from Naomi. She was wondering if you could share more about what areas around Charlotte may be underserved.
So I mentioned the northeast of town. Um, Concord is one. Just kind of along the outer belt, you're gonna see less Airbnbs. I mean, a lot of people have their opinion on Gastonia, but I see a lot of opportunity over there, kind of on that South Tryon, the Gastonia. I hope I'm saying that right, but over by that kind of like Lake Wiley
Mhm.
outdoor center with
Oh,
the
yeah.
that's a market that can do really well. That there's opportunity in. And big returns. And you don't have to be on the lake to do it. You don't have to be on Lake Norman. You don't have to be on Lake Wiley. It's nice, but you're gonna have more competition there again, and it's seasonal, right? So
Right.
if you're trying to still avoid that seasonality, you're trying to avoid a lot of the competition. Just look for those. Where is it underserved? Is it a honeymoon getaways? Is it bigger families? Um, both of those have attractions, and you can still get to Charlotte from both of those examples in what 20 minutes. I mean,
Mhm.
unless you run into 5 o'clock traffic, but
Right.
um, there are opportunities there, even down in closer to the border. Seeing a lot of Matthews and
Yeah.
in those areas are great little places. They have great little downtowns and things going on, and people are going to visit their high growth relatives that are moving there and
Yeah.
staying. They don't want to stay in their house. They want to stay in an Airbnb. So
Right.
happy to talk to you more, Naomi, specifically on that question. We can kind of do a little deep dive if you like, but that's where I probably would start is those 3.
All right. Well, that sounds good, Mike. Thank you so much. And I think we've pretty much covered the questions that we have here. Um, running up on 50 minutes. So it's been a great talk. I think we've covered a lot, and I really appreciate your wealth of knowledge that you've shared with everybody here. Of course, they can book a market match call with us. We're more than happy to connect them directly with you to discuss those markets. And I do think they are really kind of untapped markets right now, and that's what I try to share with people. It's, it's get in now while before it's,
What was Asheville 3 years ago?
exactly, exactly.
It's
And
amazing.
I grew up here, and knowing that, I'm like, you just, it's just right down the mountain here.
We're an
Yeah,
hour from Asheville, so
exactly.
it could be, it could be going along the same path, and 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, "Guess we gotta go find another emerging market now."
That's it.
But yeah, welcome to have anybody ask me any questions or connect with me. Let's see, it's, savvy.realty/Mike,
Hmm.
um, is
That's
my
it.
is
And
my,
that's direct to Mike's
sub
calendar.
page, and,
Yep.
so, yeah,
All
I'm
right.
excited. Thanks for having me. Love
Absolutely.
doing this live. Really appreciate your questions
Yes, sir.
and your knowledge of my markets.
Well,
It's,
yeah, well, I
it's
appreciate you, and I mean, just, you came prepared. I love the points that you had and the slides to share with us today. So it's been a great conversation, Mike.
cool. Thanks,
Really
Jeremy.
appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for joining in today. We appreciate it. And if you missed any part of this, or you have friends that may benefit from this, it should be uploaded probably no later than tomorrow to our YouTube channel. So you could just go to YouTube and search savvy.realty there, and replay that or send it to friends. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We appreciate it. And have a great evening. Thanks so much. Bye for now. All right.